Today's episode of Three Wise Men is proudly brought to you by Club Aquarius.
G'day everybody and welcome to the SFNL Grand Final edition of Three Wise Men. Mitch Rodd here, thanks very much for your company. We're looking forward to a magnificent contest between Imperials and Irymple tomorrow at City Oval. Joining me is the Chris Novoselic and the Kurt Cobain to my Dave Grohl, wow. John Hollywood and Pat Silcox. Welcome, boys. I thought you might enjoy that. A bit of 90s music reference.
Rock on, Mitch.
Absolutely.
Who are they?
Oh, Johnny, you didn't say that.
That is sacrilege, John.
Oh, was it? Sorry, my apologies.
Before we get on to previewing the big game this weekend, boys, what a fantastic season it has been. We did see a fairly convincing win in the end for Irymple against Robinvale Euston in last week's preliminary final, and the Swallows in against the Green Machine again this weekend. Johnny, we must be looking forward to a cracking contest.
Oh, we're going to get that, Mitch. There's no doubt about that. And me and Paddy have talked about it before. They've had lots of contests over there. I think Paddy's got some stats in regards to grand finals they've played in and that sort of stuff. But I reckon they're going to take something out of that. I reckon they would have forgotten the game before against Imps. So for me, it's going to be a ripper.
Yeah, look, a bit of history. We've looked back through some of the stats, and of course, I can recall my first game as a caller at City Oval in 2005 when Andrew Petrie, the long left outside 50, was in the air as the siren sounds, and that gave them the 1 point victory. Imps got them a little bit later on back in 2013. So, yeah, it's really hard to pick, isn't it? I mean, they've been pretty much the dominant sides, although the Eagles had a good start at the top of 2019, but coming home strong, Imps and Irymple back on track after last weekend's result.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we are looking forward to a big weekend ahead. Just before we do preview this game, we will have a look back earlier this week at the McLeod Medal Night, where, of course, Irymple's star Dan Coughlin was the winner of the 2019 McLeod Medal, the SFNL Senior Best and Fairest, from Ash Rowe of Merbein on 20 votes. And Paddy, we were there calling it for 106.7 Hot FM for the night, and certainly a deserved winner after 3 fantastic years.
Yeah, and he took it in his stride, Dan, as you'd expect. He's the ultimate professional. We were just talking before, John, about Ash Rowe. I mean, we've seen the prize a little bit this year. He's had a pretty good year, but gee whiz, 20 votes out of the box for me.
Yeah, he bounced out, didn't he, in regards to second half of the season. He certainly came home with a wet sail and that sort of stuff. He certainly did mention to his club president he thought it was his best season he's had back at Pyland. So for him, he thought it was his best season. So if that's the case, it's certainly the result.
Yep. Well, considering he was one of 3 winners of the medal in 2016, that's a fair example, John.
Yeah, exactly. And he said that to Tony. He said that he thought it was his better season than his McLeod medal win. So that was vindicated by certainly what happened, on Monday night.
Dan Coughlin's Irymple teammate Ben Dusha, of course, finishing in third as well with 14 votes. And I think just reward, I think we probably put the moz on him, the commentator's curse of the last couple of years, been up there as the favourite and then finishing second or third each time, but finally got the win this time, Paddy, and of course going to be a fantastic player this weekend and a very important player for the Swallows.
Yeah, totally, and he was instrumental, wasn't he, really, in the engine room for them on Saturday against the Eagles, and he's a high quality player, played at a high level, and he'll bring that to what's going to be a super contest.
I got a little bit of flack last week from this show actually, which is good. I don't mind that. At least we know that some people are watching. Yeah. Regards to me saying he was one of the best players I've seen in the last 20 years. Certainly in my opinion, I think so. Out of watching the comp the way I do with just a bit of passion and loving it, I think he moves the ball and carts the ball as well as anybody and creates as much as anybody that I've seen in the last 20. He'd be one of the first I'd pick in my team.
And one of the differences, I think, is with that, often there's a lot of great players who come here that maybe aren't in their prime anymore. Yeah, exactly. He came here at 25, 26 years old and was still dominating footy.
Well, I think I picked him to win the medal 3 years in a row.
Yeah.
And if he did, I wouldn't have been shocked. So for me personally, I would have thought he would have been, I think he's won the Paver Award 3 years in a row, has he not? So gone pretty close. I think he might have drew 1 year, but he's been one of the outstanding players since he's been here. So I reckon I'm glad it's happened, put it that way.
Certainly he will be hoping to double up this weekend. Also, the A-grade Horkings medal winner was Kyra Nathan from Owen United. In the end, 25 votes, finishing ahead of South Mildura's Demi Toms, Merbein's Jada Phillips, and Wentworth's Amanda Hedricks all on 17. So a runaway winner there from the co-coach from Owen United, Paddy. We did have a chat with her on the night, and certainly a very humble winner. She was very surprised to have won, but certainly focused on the job at hand this weekend against Wentworth in their grand final.
Yeah, it's going to be a big weekend for the Kangas, both A and B grade netball in the under-18s. It's quite a unique situation for Cora because, of course, hubby Luke is the coach of the senior men, and we actually asked her how do they get around the kids and who looks after with the support
network. There's a fair schedule they've got going on.
They've got it sorted out really well.
Yeah, look, it was a good effort, wasn't it? So, as much as she was surprised, some people told me they thought earlier in the week that she was one of the favourites, even though she wasn't listed. So, most of the girls that played against her know how good she is.
Yeah, certainly the mid-court player in the team of the year as well. And dominated throughout the centre court for the Kangas. As mentioned, the girls in A and B grade will be playing the grand finals, and they did say to us that it was about time the girls got a bit of recognition instead of the boys coming into the grand finals this time around.
Been playing second fiddle for a couple of years.
Going back to that subject of netball football really quickly, how much has it brought to our football clubs since it's gone?
It's been
football, netball. Hasn't it been fantastic last 6 or 7 years it's happened? It's almost 50-50 interest nowadays. The amount of supporters that go to the netball games, slide back across, it's fantastic.
It's great. Yeah.
And I think the timings of the games too now, A grade's been pushed forward to 12 o'clock, I think has helped, because that way people can still go and watch the top grade in each competition to go and enjoy on a Saturday.
And when you slip across there and go and watch a B grade or an A grade or A reserve game in netball, you sit there and go,
it's full on, isn't it?
It is fantastic. It's brilliant.
Absolutely, it is. Plenty of grand finals coming up this weekend. I'll list all those off in a few moments' time, but boys, we'll head into the 5 talking points for this weekend. I'm going to start with number 1. How will City Oval's size affect the match? Because we did say in the semi-final matchup between the two sides that Irymple would probably be favoured by their home ground of Henshawwood Oval, certainly not quite as wide as City Oval. Johnny, how do you think the actual size of City Oval will work for either side?
I like it for both sides. I like it for Imperials because the tall timbers of Imps can get by themselves one out. You know, Mason Middleton can get on his own with his own defender, be away from the other defenders. There can't be a third bloke peel off, come over the top. It doesn't happen as much at City Oval. On the other side, Irymple run and carry. It's a big ground. They can run and carry, get into space. So I think it suits both clubs. I think it favours them. It's their home ground.
Yeah, it is their home ground. And that traditional structure sets up well with the key posts with plenty of space to run and work with. But a bit like you, John, I think if the Swallows can get that spread and get the run and carry going, well, there's lots of open pasture to make a bust, isn't there?
Yeah, very much so.
Certainly most of their wingers and half-backs are very quick off the first 10 or 15 metres, Johnny, and to be able to accelerate and get that space. And how important is it for someone who is a run and carry player to have those extra few metres to be able to steady and dispose of it well?
Oh, very much so. And the run and carry is what breaks up a game. There's nothing better for a forward with the bloke running carrying at you. You run straight in. If it doesn't go to you, what does it go? It goes to your space behind you. So number 1's perfect for that. And obviously it looks like the conditions are going to be pretty good for the weekend. So the run and carry is really important. Number 1 suits both sides.
Yeah, certainly Mother Nature looks like she's going to be smiling down upon Sunraysia for this Saturday's game. Number 2, can Irymple execute as they did last week? Obviously had a tough bit of an arm wrestle in the first half with Robinvale Euston, but then put on the afterburners and ran away in the second half. Paddy, do you think they can do the same sort of thing against potentially a harder opponent to get through in terms of the contested ball?
Well, they'll need to if they want to win, Mitch. There's no doubt about that. It's a case of the cream coming to the top. I mean, I called out a few of their big-name recruits in the first final where they just didn't quite hit the mark, but they all really got behind each other.
Their ears must have been burning from your words.
They really did share the load, and all of them played great footy on Saturday.
Yeah, I'm with Paddy here. I think what they've got to do is what they've done against Robinvale. They've got to run, carry the ball, do all their right things. They're good enough. They are good enough to win this, so they're right in this for me.
And obviously we made a fair bit of Dan Coughlin having a quiet day in the semi-final, and even though he got a lot of the ball in the prelim, we wouldn't necessarily say he was the most influential player on the ground. We saw some of their other guys, such as your Heath Corballs, your Ben Douches, Nathan Hammonds, Michael Condodoros, Todd George had an impact in there at different stages too. The load was shared, and that's what was missing.
That's probably the thing we didn't like the week before.
Yep.
The load wasn't shared. We had blokes, 5 or 6 blokes, probably didn't get the touches they should get with the names they've got. Okay, and they would have been disappointed. They would have went away and said, hey, look, this is my career we're talking about here. Come back, and they've bounced back beautifully. The workload in the weekend was shared. I think they can do it again, and they're going to need to against Imps.
Certainly one of the matchups I think we're going to be most looking forward to is most likely Jaden Nile going back to his old sparring partner in Dan Coughlin. So I guess talking point number 3, well, in 2 parts. 1, will he go to him again? And 2, how are the Irymple boys going to, I guess, look after their teammate?
It's an interesting question, isn't it? I mean, I'm thinking with my Adam Hartlett hat on here, with why change it if it ain't broke? I mean, I guess he got the job done pretty well over the last 2 games, really, when you look at it. But you think Irymple will expect that, so they'll try and counter it. So has he got another move up his sleeve that he might pull out for us?
Irymple's physicality throughout the year has always been really hard. That they're hard-nosed players. Their control of discipline's probably let them down a little bit. But I think they're going to have to show the discipline this week. And they're going to have to show a little bit of hardness too. So they're going to have to get that balance right. They're going to have to look after it.
They certainly will. And I guess that's, as you said, Johnny, the discipline's going to come into it there. As long as they can keep the focus on the game more so than that contest, that's going to be important, isn't it?
We're not talking a punch up here. I'm talking shoulders, hips. So he comes around, the man grabs him, they're bumping into that man, they're bumping into the tagger. The tagger's getting as much work over as Cogs is getting. They've got to make sure of that. So if he's going to tag him as close as he did in the past, they're going to have to make sure he earns it as well.
did actually have a chat with Jayden Niall in the lead up to the game, which will be in this Friday's Mildura Weekly, and I did ask him how do you actually prepare for that, because obviously you're going to have to expect some contact, and he was pretty level-headed about it. So it's not something he really thinks about, which to be honest is complete opposite to me. I think my white shorts would go brown if if I knew some of those blokes were coming after me.
Yeah, look, it's a big job. I mean, we know how hard he's been to stop over the 3 seasons
definitely.
he's been here, and it goes a long way to holding up the Swallows, as we've seen in a couple of occasions this year. So the good thing about what we saw from last Saturday, John, is because they got that even spread from the quality players, it's not up to Dan to come up with his 35 or 40. All well and good if he does, but the club will be confident to know that the other guys are going to pick up the slack in case he has a quiet one.
Yeah, I'm really happy for him to get his touches in the forward half. So I really want to see him, this side of the centre going forward rather than getting touches in the back half like he did the other day. I want to see him more forward. Does more damage kicking it inside the 50 for me.
He's certainly one of the best executors of
kick.
the footy in the competition. Talking point number 4 is whose absence will be felt the most. There's obviously going to be some important players missing for either side. You look at the likes of Victor Caristo and Nathan Hura for Irymple, obviously a couple of key defenders missing there, and potentially, Paddy, we've heard this week that Luke Hickey, obviously we're recording before the teams have been announced, that Luke Hickey potentially might not get up for Imperials, which would be a big blow.
Yeah, look, they're key outs for both clubs, aren't they, John?
very
I mean,
much so.
Mick Hura has been really good for them in the ruck. They brought Tyrone Mitchell in to cover a bit of slack there. Cross has obviously come back to the senior action as well. Luke Hickey's an interesting one. He's been pretty important for them in that forward line.
Very.
He also chops out a bit for Paddy Keogh around the ruck. And what we saw in the second semi, of course, was that Mason Middleton had to take that role on. And that'd be disappointing for the Green Machine because you take him away from his key centre-half forward post. If he's got to run in that midfield rotation, he's going to blow up a bit.
I agree, totally, especially on a big ground. Didn't matter out there as much, but certainly at number 1, I don't want that to happen either. Luke Hickey's really important. Nathan Hura and Caristo are vital, let's be honest. Both of them have had to play different spots all season, but Caristo especially, he would have went to Mason Middleton, so that would have been your matchup directly there. So, look, the injuries aren't helping either one, but you're there now, nothing you can do about it, you've just got to go with what you got, and they've both got plenty of talent below the top 10 blokes, so there's no worries covering them to some degree.
We obviously talked with Todd George after the game on radio and asked him about that sort of situation. He has, well, obviously we're not going to have the direct matchups for them, so it's a matter of the tactics to work around it. So, John, do you think that speed and the counter-attacking for Irymple is really going to be almost the best defence is the great offence?
I think that's their only
Good call.
defence. Yeah, I think that's their only defence is to attack full on. They've just got to keep running the ball as fast as they can. Their matchups on the ground on the weekend were fantastic. They didn't have 3 of their middleweight type of blokes on the ground at the same time. They rotated them beautifully, so that age coming on, all that sort of stuff. They weren't making blokes do 2 quarters of footy straight that shouldn't have been. They give them rotations of 7 or 8 minutes. It was perfect, but they had no injuries. They'd give them that option. My concern for them going forward is if they get an injury early on, how do they cover that? How do they, get a bloke out there that shouldn't be playing 4 quarters and cover that? But I still think they're in it. I'm an Imps bloke. I picked them all season, of course. I thought they were going to get better and better, and they have. But Irymple showed me some stuff on Saturday from the mixture of other blokes putting in that they're going to be up for it, I reckon.
And that leads us straight into talking point number 5, boys. Who's your tip to win the premiership and to win the John Groves medal? I mean, we might need a couple of extra minutes to decipher who we're actually going to go with, but still harder to pick than a broken nose at the moment.
Yeah, look, it is, and then picking a medalist is always difficult because you just don't know what's going to turn up on the day. Conditions will suit the big fellas, I think. So, the likes of a Jarrah McNally might come into the fray, I guess. Mason Middleton maybe rolls up his sleeves and gives us a sample type of performance and maybe takes the game away. So much quality, it's really hard to pinpoint one bloke that's going to take it out.
Yeah, maybe one of your small forwards comes out and kicks 5 or 6. Reardon goes forward and kicks 5 or 6. He kicked 2 in the last in about 49 seconds. He's capable of doing that again and again, sort of thing. So, you know what I mean? To me, it's Imps, and it's probably Mason Middleton for me. He's going to get plenty of touches of the ball, as long as he's not in that ruck for too long for me. Else I'm like you, Paddy, he blows up. It's too big a ground for that.
I'm going to throw my hat into the ring with Nick Mee. I just think I saw some signs from him last week that he's just such an exciting player, and he's run and carry off that centre wing, going across half forward. He could be dangerous. He could kick those long goals that could really set the tone for them.
Who's going to win?
Gee, I'm
How good is it though?
It's great. It's so
exactly.
good to go into a game where you really can't come up with a solid answer. Look, I'm going to go with Irymple. I think based on their finals experience, and we chatted about this earlier, that they played in the final series right through since 2010. Their win-loss ratio in grand finals isn't so great. They want to really address that agenda and get the job done. I think they can win.
Well, I reckon I'm going to go with you, Johnny. Imperials. Not with any real confidence
conviction
at the moment, because I think we're all in the same boat with that.
Are.
And I'm probably cheating a little bit, but I have to go for someone like a Ryan Hards, who's always going to be up and around the mark.
No, that's not cheating. That's a fair call, actually.
All right, boys. Well, thank you very much for joining us, not only for this weekend, but also for all the lead up into the finals. And looking forward to a fantastic game on Saturday. Boys, looking forward to a good call.
Thanks, Mitchy.
Thank you, Mitchy.
And thank you once again for joining us here for Three Wise Men. And make sure you stay tuned to MilduraWeekly.com.au for more videos. Here are the grand final lineups for all Sunraysia Football and Netball League competitions this Saturday. As mentioned before, Imperials will take on Irymple in the Senior Football Grand Final, while Irymple take on Wentworth in reserves. Owen United are up against Mildura in the under-18s, and in under-16s action, Robinvale Euston versus Irymple. Over at Sarah Oval, for the under-14s, Robinvale Euston will play Mildura, and in the under-14 Colts, Irymple will play Mildura. In A-grade netball, Wentworth will take on Owen United, their first time in the A-grade grand final. B-grade, Irymple will take on Owen United. In C-grade, Wentworth will play South Mildura, while the Roos are also in C reserve against Irymple. 17 and under Division 1 is Irymple versus South Mildura, while Wentworth will take on South Mildura in under 17 Division 2. Over at Sarah Oval, 15 and under Division 1 will see Mildura up against South Mildura and Redcliffe's up against South Mildura in the two divisions. Mildura will take on South Mildura in 13 and under Division 1, while Merbein will play Mildura in 13 and under Division 2. And if your team does go on to win their grand final, you can order your custom-made commemorative premiership posters from Mildura Weekly. Just head to the website, follow the links, and give us a call to place your order.
Today's episode of Three Wise Men is proudly brought to you by Club Aquarius.